Assalamualaikum.
Perpustakaan merupakan salah satu sarana pembelajaran, sarana penyediaan informasi, dan sarana pemberdayaan masyarakat dalam meningkatkan kualitas hidup dan sumber daya manusia melalui transformasi layanan perpustakaan berbasis inklusi sosial. Layanan perpustakaan berbasis inklusi sosial tidak hanya dilakukan oleh perpustakaan umum, tetapi juga dilakukan oleh perpustakaan khusus Kementerian Pertanian melalui Pusat Perpustakaan dan Literasi Pertanian atau dikenal dengan nama Pustaka. Pustaka sebagai perpustakaan khusus pertanian terbesar di Indonesia telah menerapkan layanan perpustakaan berbasis inklusi sosial untuk didaya gunakan oleh masyarakat, khususnya masyarakat petani dan penyuluh pertanian, dalam meningkatkan pengetahuan literasi pertanian melalui program perpustakaan khusus berbasis inklusi sosial. Perpustakaan khusus berbasis inklusi sosial, atau disingkat PKBIS, merupakan program yang melibatkan peran aktif masyarakat pada kegiatan pemberdayaan masyarakat dalam meningkatkan kualitas hidup dan kesejahteraan masyarakat. Kegiatan program perpustakaan khusus berbasis inklusi sosial yang telah dilakukan oleh Pustaka dengan konsep Library Comes to You, antara lain menyediakan bahan informasi pertanian kepada masyarakat petani dan penyuluh pertanian, memberikan pelatihan dan keterampilan dengan menghadirkan pakar sesuai kebutuhan masyarakat petani, melakukan bimbingan teknis dan literasi pertanian agar dapat diimplementasikan oleh masyarakat petani dan penyuluh pertanian, serta menjadi fasilitator permasalahan pertanian dengan berkolaborasi antar pihak terkait. Lokasi pengembangan program perpustakaan khusus berbasis inklusi sosial yang telah dilakukan oleh Pustaka antara lain PPP Nguter, Desa Nguter, Kecamatan Nguter, Kabupaten Sukoharjo, PPP Jatinop, Desa Bengking, Kecamatan Jatinop, Kabupaten Klaten, PPP Lewiliang, terpusat di Desa Sadeng, Kecamatan Lewu Sadeng, Kabupaten Bogor, PPP Cibunggular, terpusat di Desa Benteng, Kecamatan Ciampea, Kabupaten Bogor. Gunung Putri, terpusat di Desa Gunung Putri, Kecamatan Gunung Putri, Kabupaten Bogor. Program perpustakaan khusus berbasis inklusi sosial diharapkan dapat meningkatkan literasi pertanian sebagai pusat kegiatan pemberdayaan masyarakat petani, serta turut mendukung terwujudnya visi Kementerian Pertanian, yaitu pertanian yang maju, mandiri, dan modern. Pustaka, Library Comes to You.
Selamat pagi Pak Kapus, sudah bergabung. Pak Henry, cek suara aman?
Aman damai.
Siap. Ya. Selamat pagi Pak Kapus.
Assalamualaikum, selamat pagi.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
Ibu
wabarakatuh.
sudah bergabung.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Izin kita 5 menit lagi saja ya kita mulai ya.
Ya.
Bapak Ibu yang sudah bergabung mungkin boleh on cam, kita bisa saling menyapa. Boleh dituliskan dari mana asalnya nih yang sudah bergabung di kolom chat. Nah, biar bisa saling berkenalan. Sambil menunggu ya, kita akan mulai jam 8.35. Ya, jam 8.40 ya, kita mulai ya. Sambil menunggu teman-teman yang akan bergabung.
Seperti matahari yang setiap hari memancarkan cahaya kehidupan, Pusat Perpustakaan dan Penyebaran Teknologi Pertanian atau Pustaka Kementerian Pertanian senantiasa hadir menyapa masyarakat dunia. Sebagai perpustakaan pertanian terbesar di Indonesia, Pustaka merupakan lembaga pengelola sumber daya informasi iptek pertanian yang terpercaya, akuntabel dan profesional bagi para peneliti, penyuluh, petani, dosen atau widya iswara, mahasiswa, pelajar, pengusaha dan mitra industri pertanian, serta masyarakat pada umumnya. Perkembangan teknologi di era digital saat ini menuntut Pustaka beradaptasi dengan mengembangkan sumber daya dan layanan informasi ilmu pengetahuan teknologi pertanian berbasis Internet of Things melalui Virtual Office. Perpustakaan Pertanian merupakan kantor pusat dengan koleksi buku tercetak dan elektronis, sumber ilmu pengetahuan teknologi pertanian terbesar di Indonesia. Koleksi buku tua atau antiquariat hingga jurnal internasional terkini tersaji dengan apik di berbagai sudut ruang layanan yang nyaman dan ramah pengguna. Pustaka juga memiliki unit pelayanan teknis yaitu Museum Tanah dan Pertanian yang sekaligus menjadi pusat informasi dan edukasi pertanian tematik. Pustaka memiliki ruang layanan sekaligus co-working space kekinian yang nyaman bagi generasi milenial di perpustakaan dan pengetahuan pertanian digital atau P3D. Sebagai pusat perpustakaan berbasis inklusi sosial, serta salah satu usaha mendekatkan pustaka dengan penggunanya, Pustaka mengembangkan kegiatan yang langsung bersentuhan dengan pengguna di lokasi, yaitu pos tani. Pos Tani dilengkapi dengan kegiatan Open Virtual Literasi untuk turut meningkatkan literasi informasi pertanian bagi petani dan penyuluh. Beragam informasi hasil penelitian dan pengembangan pertanian telah dikelola dan disebarluaskan kepada pengguna di seluruh pelosok negeri, bahkan ke mancanegara. Pustaka senantiasa hadir sebagai pusat informasi yang menyebarkan ilmu pengetahuan dan teknologi pertanian kepada masyarakat, sekaligus jendela untuk membuka cakrawala, mendukung percepatan invensi menuju inovasi. Pustaka, library comes to you.
Baik, Pak Kapus, sudah jam 8.40, mohon izin untuk dimulai.
Kan Bu Listina.
Oke, baik. Suara aman ya, Pak ya?
Ya.
Ya, baik. Baik, Bapak Ibu, mohon perhatiannya. Untuk yang bisa on cam, kami mohon untuk bisa on cam. Acara akan segera kita mulakan. Baik, sebelumnya kami sampaikan terima kasih kepada yang terhormat Kepala Pusat Perpustakaan dan Literasi Pertanian, Bapak Muklis SEMSI, yang telah berkenan bergabung bersama kita pada pagi hari ini. Terima kasih Bapak. Yang kami hormati narasumber yang luar biasa pada pagi hari ini, Profesor Dr. Abrizah binti Abdullah. Selamat pagi Ibu. Terima kasih sudah bergabung pada pagi hari ini untuk sharing ya Bu ya. Kemudian yang kami hormati juga moderator yang luar biasa juga nih, Bapak Hendriadi SSI, MSc, PhD. Selamat pagi Pak Henry. Sudah
Selamat
siap
pagi, Bu.
pagi ini ya?
Insya Allah.
Semangat. Baik, selanjutnya Juga kami sampaikan terima kasih kepada Koordinator Substansi Perpustakaan, Dr. Riko Bintari Pertamasari MHum, dan kepada Bapak Ibu partisipan pada acara Knowledge Sharing Kepustakawanan yang kami banggakan. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Salam sejahtera dan salam sehat untuk kita semua. Puji dan syukur kita panjatkan kehadirat Tuhan Yang Maha Esa yang telah memberikan nikmat sehat dan kesempatan kepada kita untuk dapat terus beraktivitas pada hari ini. Alhamdulillah hari ini kita akan mengikuti knowledge sharing kepustakawanan yang memang secara rutin diselenggarakan oleh Pusat Perpustakaan dan Literasi Pertanian, Kementerian Pertanian. Sebelumnya akan kami bacakan terlebih dahulu susunan acara kita pada hari ini. Yang pertama, pengantar yang nanti akan disampaikan oleh Kepala Pusat Perpustakaan dan Literasi Pertanian. Kemudian paparan dari narasumber. Selanjutnya sesi diskusi dan tanya jawab. Nah, terakhir nanti akan ada closing statement dan juga foto bersama. Untuk link presensi dan materi dan link sertifikat akan admin sampaikan di kolom komentar. Demikian susunan knowledge sharing kita pada hari ini. Selanjutnya sebelum kita mulai acara kita, marilah kita bersama-sama membaca basmalah.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Baik, Bapak dan Ibu memasuki acara pertama yaitu pengantar yang akan disampaikan oleh Kepala Pusat Perpustakaan dan Literasi Pertanian kepada Bapak Mukhlis SEMSI, dipersilahkan.
Baik. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Alhamdulillah jazakumullahu khairan. Alhamdulillah jazakumullahu khairan. Good morning, dear speaker, Professor Abrizah binti Abdullah from the University of Malaya, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Dear colleagues from the Indonesian Center for Agricultural Library and Literacy, and distinguished participants. First and foremost, I would like to express my gratitude to God Almighty, who gave us an opportunity to have time together for improving our knowledge and skills in librarianship. Secondly, I also would like to thank Professor Abrizah binti Abdullah for her willingness to share her expertise and experience with us. I believe this webinar will be very important and beneficial for us. And the third, I also would like to thank Dr. Rico as library coordinator and our librarians for organizing this knowledge sharing. And last but not least, I would like to thank all participants to attending this occasion. Ladies and gentlemen, the Center of Agricultural Library and Literacy is one of the second-tier institutions of the Ministry of Agriculture under the Secretariat General. It has been established in 1842. Since its establishment, library services have been carried out for supporting agricultural research and development. Research is intended to find new things in the field of agriculture, while development is aimed at implementing these new findings in agricultural practices in the field. The intricate task of agricultural research and development is not just carried out by one agricultural component. At the very least, researchers and their assistants are needed for agricultural research, while extension agents and assessors, among other agricultural components, must cooperate for agricultural progress to occur. All informational resources required have been obtained from the library due to our hectic schedules. These agricultural components occasionally lack the time to independently gather the knowledge they require. In this situation, librarians are required. Embedded librarians are not new, nothing new. However, its implementation has not been widely carried out in Indonesia in general, in the Ministry of Agriculture in particular. Schumacher and Telly described an embedded librarian as the work of an academic librarian who participates in an academic course on an ongoing basis, teaching information literacy skill. Embedded librarians conduct a series of activities such as collaborated on or contributed to their customer group's work, met more than once with a few regular customers to discuss information needs and present results to them. The next, provided training on information resources or information management tools away from library facilities, such as in the customer office, a conference room, or a classroom. Met in person or virtually with senior members, for example, executives, managers, supervisors of their customer group to discuss information-related needs and services. Participated in a meeting class or conference devoted to your customer's area of expertise, not oriented to librarians. Then, attended your customer group's meeting to learn about their work and information needs. And the last, collaborated on or contributed to their customer group's electronic communication and or collaborative workspaces, including email, wikis, blogs, and other web-based workspaces. Perhaps we need to ask ourselves as librarians, how many items from the embedded librarian activities have we done? I think it will be very wise if we complement to our knowledge by listening to the enlightenment from Prof. Abrisah binti Abdullah this morning. Dear participants, I will not say any longer. Congratulations and welcome to the knowledge sharing event today. Thank you. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Baik, terima kasih kepada Bapak Kapus yang sudah menyampaikan pengantarnya. Selanjutnya memasuki acara inti kita pada pagi hari ini, paparan dari narasumber, dan nanti akan dipandu oleh moderator kita, Bapak Henry Yadi. Kepada Pak Henry, dipersilahkan.
Baik, terima kasih Bu Listina dan izin Pak Kapus. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, speakers, and participants. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and best wishes for all of us. First of all, I ask permission to Prof. Abrisah to moderate this webinar in combination of bahasa and English, because majority audience for this meeting is from Indonesia. I would like to a warm welcome to all of you to the knowledge sharing embedded librarian webinars. This webinar is organized by Indonesian Center for Agriculture, Library and Literacy, Ministry of Agriculture. And I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to our organizing committee for making this event possible. Ladies and gentlemen, aim of this series knowledge sharing webinar is to escalate the knowledge of participants, especially librarians, from expert and practitioner in relation to library technology and library management. My name is Henry Yadi, and my honor and pleasure to serve you as moderator for this webinar. Okay, today disruptive technology is affecting almost all of mankind. So in the where information is all at our fingerprint, one important question is related to libraries and librarian. Should we have library and librarian if we already have Google, ChatGPT, artificial intelligence, and other high-end technology and information and communication technology? It's the big question. Actually, there are a lot of studies have been done to transform the role of library and librarian. Nowadays, the role of librarian is already transformed into something truly remarkable. Digital library is not enough. we should transform into what we call a smart library, a library that provides more personalized services based on user preference and human touch. As we already know, smart library ecosystem is consists of four main components: smart collection, we have smart literature, smart library, and smart network. And all of this component will support with smart governance and smart places. One of component is smart librarians, and actually this in line with the concept which today we discuss. We come together to explore namely embedded library. In simple, embedded library, a professional who goes beyond the traditional boundaries of the library and integrate himself with various academic and professional environment. In embedded library, we will have collaboration, accessibility, and empowerment. It's about the breaking down the barriers between traditional library space and the broader academic, professional, and digital landscape. I believe that our speakers who are leaders in this field will share this insight, experience, and best experience to offer us a glimpse into the potential embedded library to transform education, research, and knowledge management. So it's my honor to introduce Prof. Abrizah Binti Abdullah, the exceptional speaker for this today's webinar. Good morning, Prof. Abrizah. Professor Abrizah is a professor in the Department of Library Information Science, Faculty of Art and Social Science, University of Malaya. And Prof. Abrizah graduated with a bachelor degree in environmental engineering from Temple University, Philadelphia, and obtained her master and PhD degrees both in library and information system from University of Malaya. And based on the profile I got from the University of Malaya website, her research interests are in digital library, information behavior, and
Suaranya ke mute Pak. Suaranya Pak Henry. Pak Henry, suaranya itu ketekan mute mungkin.
okay, thank you, Bu Listina. And then her prior research group work on digital library, bibliometric, and scholarly communication led on the development of Malaysian journal hosting platform, My Journal, and National Station Indexing System, My Site, in 2011, where she was then appointed as the deputy of director of the Malaysian Citation Center and the advisor panel of the MCC and the Department of Higher Education. And Prof. Abrizah is currently the Dean of the Institute of Advanced Studies, University of Malaya, and was a Dean of Faculty of Computer Science and Information Technology, University of Malaya. And prior to this, she served as Dean of the Institute of Postgraduate Studies, University of Malaya, where Prof. Abrizah and her team were responsible for managing the postgraduate education and ensuring the highest level of the full research program conducted at the university. She was a teacher librarian and had 10 years of secondary school teaching experience and was appointed as an assistant director at the Education Planning and Research Division, ERPD, Ministry of Education, Malaysia. With her extensive experience, I believe she can provide us the valuable insight upon the embedded library is that we can apply to our own work and endeavor. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming Prof. Abrizah to deliver his presentation. Prof. Abrizah, this time is yours.
Thank you
Silakan,
very
Bu.
much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Welcome. Yeah.
You can hear me very clear, yeah?
Yes, sure. Yeah.
Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Alhamdulillah, thank you very much to the director of the Center of Library and Literacy from the Ministry of Agriculture, Bogor, Indonesia, for extending the invitation through Dr. Rico, I believe, yeah, Bapak Mukhlis, yeah, Bapak Mukhlis, through Dr. Rico and also through Dr. Bambang Winarko. I'm very privileged to be able to talk to the librarians from the Ministry of Agriculture once again, because a few years back before the pandemic, I attended the first seminar. The library invited me to talk about the digital literacy and also the implication of librarians in the Industrial Revolution 4.0 during that time. So this time around, I have been given the task to share about embedded librarianship. Yeah, so the concept of embedded librarianship nowadays is very, very much relevant in the context of librarians practicing their tasks and responsibilities through their service, not confined to the four walls. Right? Yeah. So this I'm going to detail out later, and hopefully moderator can also assist me later on if, let's say, there are questions that pop up from the chat. All right.
Yes, sure.
We do not have to wait until the end. Yeah, Bapak Henry.
Yes, sure. Yes, sure. Yeah.
Okay. So thank you. I hope that will be a smooth sailing here. And I will try my very best. I will give my very best, okay, to ensure that everybody in the webinar today will have a better understanding of what embedded librarianship is and will able to practice it little by little in the context of providing or delivering your services to your community, be them the researchers or maybe the policy makers, your bosses, and also to the community, because you serve a large community of people who are in the agriculture field, isn't it? Yeah, not only to the business people, but also to the farmers, perhaps. I'm not sure, because this is what I understand from looking at the montage of the library just now. I could sense two things. You have the Pustaka has this motto, library comes to you, right? Pustaka, library comes to you. I heard that just now. So that is actually an indication, a promise that you will do embedded librarianship. Itu adalah janjinya yang Kepustakawan di Ministry Pertanian akan melaksanakan embedded librarianship, because embedded librarian will bring the library to the stakeholders, to the people that the library serve. Okay, so that is very, very good, a positive side. And also, just now I saw in one screen, screens of the video, it indicates that your library does not end here. I saw just now in the video, there were students actually coming to the library, and there is a signage, the library does not end here. Then again, you have made a promise, okay, to the people that you serve, that their visits, okay, does not just end, all right, at the library, and you will be able to deliver the visit, to deliver the services beyond, okay, the four walls of the library. All right. So I believe when you have actually incorporated this in part of your pledge or your promise to the people that you serve, you have incorporated this embedded librarianship in your service. So that is very, 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 very relevant, and hopefully this can be further enhanced or further practice, okay, by those who have the ability, the real passion to do embedded librarianship, because not everybody can have this interest or passion or even competencies and skills, okay, to provide embedded librarianship, because embedded librarianship has for a librarian to practice embedded librarianship, there is a set of competencies that the librarian should uphold to. Okay, And the very important thing is that the librarian should be passionate and dedicated enough, okay, to practice embedded librarianship. So, Bapak Henry, allow me to share my slides.
Yes, sure, Professor.
Okay, I believe you can see this right now. All right. Okay. So I hope that I can complete this presentation in about 40 minutes or so, and then question and answer. So this is the title that I have chosen based on what I believe has been requested by the organizer, that is Navigation Embedded Librarianship, Empowering Research and Scholarly Communication. I focus on research and scholarly communication because before this, I went to your university, I went to your institute, and I see that the most important people that you serve are the researchers, right? Yeah, are the researchers. But actually, embedded librarianship is not just about providing or extending EL. I use the word embedded librarianship. I use the term EL, okay, the abbreviation EL, in research and scholarly communication. It can be practiced in various parts of your services. But the most important thing that embedded librarianship nowadays do is in the context of the librarian connect to the researcher, and also librarian connect to the students and academics. But that is very much in the context of academic library. Okay, so I understand that your library is a special library that caters for very specific community, especially researchers from the industry, from the agriculture industry, and also researchers from the agricultural discipline, yeah, from the academics. Okay, all right. So basically, I will speak on this. What and why embedded librarianship, what is the process, and what are the actions that should be taken. And I will talk a little bit about the image that I have captured on how embedded librarianship is being visualized, okay, from an academic point of view. All right. Okay, so this slide shows that one potential visualization of embedded librarianship in the classroom. This is in the context of in the classroom where librarians serve schools, okay, as teacher librarians, or librarians serve the universities or colleges as college or academic librarians. Okay, all right. To make this clearer, basically, this shows that the librarians are actually floating, okay? And the stakeholders are actually floating too, meaning that when you practice embedded librarianship, it need not be in the physical space of the library, right? Okay, when you do embedded librarianship in teaching, you should go out and teach outside. For example, when you do information literacy, when librarians teach information literacy or agricultural literacy, yeah, in the context of your librarians, how did they do it? Do you do it in the library? Do you call people to your library to give instruction on agricultural or information literacy? You have to go out, right? Yeah, meaning that this is in the context of you go out and connect with your researchers. All right, okay. Somehow this is I would like to share something that we in Malaysia, when I first talk about embedded librarianship to a group of librarian in Malaysia, they asked me, what is the Malay or the Bahasa Malaysia name for embedded librarianship? Because they want to understand embedded librarianship in the context of what, in the text of lexicon, bahasa, pengertian dari segi bahasa. We discuss a lot and we cannot come up with a term for embedded librarianship in Bahasa Malaysia. Perhaps in Indonesia later on during Q&A, what can you connote embedded librarianship in the context of Bahasa Indonesia? Okay, because when we talk about embedded, it has a very wide understanding. Okay, but I would like to bring this in the context of embedded librarianship, in the context of embedded system, because the word embedded system has been used for computers. Computer has an embedded system. Your handphone, your smartphone nowadays, okay, is being used embedded system. All right. When embedded system is being used for a technology, for example, a smartphone, the smartphone does not function as only a smartphone. Okay, so you use your smartphone. Sometimes when you want to take photo, you take, okay, ambil photo. Okay, you use it like a camera. It is not like a smartphone, but it is actually a smartphone that you use to communicate. Yeah. Okay, so a smartphone can also function as a camera. A smartphone can also function as a reading tool. Right, you read a lot using your smartphone or your iPad. Yeah, so it has the ability to function in various ways. When it functions in various ways, it does not look originally like what it was supposed to be. So this is the concept of embedded librarianship also. So when you do embedded practice, you are a librarian, but you talk to the researcher, you behave like a researcher. Okay, so when you teach, you are like a teacher. So when you teach, you don't look like a librarian. You look like a teacher. So when you do embedded practices with the researcher, you are a researcher as well. Okay, so when you talk to your boss or to the policy maker, let's say about the policy in performance or evaluation of a scientist in your country, you talk to your research, your boss as if you are also a part of the policy maker and try to convince, okay, from your knowledge about a particular areas. So this is what I bring the connotation of embedded librarianship. Okay, and in this particular, when we talk about embedded system, the Bahasa Malaysia term is actually sistem terbenam. Terbenam, meaning that people cannot see you. Okay, so when we talk about embedded librarianship as Kepustakawanan terbenam, perhaps people might not like it because terbenam means that, oh, okay, it is terbenam, people cannot see. But what I'm going to show you is that when you are an embedded librarian, your real librarian aura is not visible. You become a teacher. You talk to a professor, you teach information literacy, you teach agricultural literacy. You have this agriculture knowledge as if you are also people from the agriculture experts or industry. Yeah, so this is what I would like to bring the connotation of embedded librarianship. Okay, so I would like to bring this a scenario that actually leads to why in Malaysia nowadays, librarians have been talking about embedded librarianship, but the word embedded librarianship is not being used. Okay, they are just talking about liaison librarian. Yeah, okay, impact librarian, or we have also this term like RDM, research data management librarian. Yeah, information literacy specialist. And so these are the terms that actually connotate embedded librarianship. All right. Okay, so I'll just bring this scenario to you that actually might lead to a university, for example, start to talk about or start to direct librarianship. Librarians to move out from their library, okay, to connect to the people. All right. Okay. The university has issued a directive to focus on research. This is just a scenario, okay, not a real thing, a scenario. Instead of teaching and learning, due to the declining undergraduate student enrollment and the increase of PhD students, research students, right? So how we do research and what or where we publish become more influenced by the government policy, okay? And then we want to see the different outcome at the national and international level. So the research focus will be, the university research focus will be on tackling global issues like urbanization, food, energy security, climate change, okay, the various issues on planetary health to meet the social and economic needs of growing and aging population. And the government places emphasis on STEM, okay, government place policy to fund programs that produce researchers. So this is the direction of the government, all right? So with direction, the library need to be very fast enough, okay, yeah, to face with the implication of changing cohort, meaning that you will get more PhD students, more research students, more international students, and you should be able to provide new and different embedded services for the research community. So this is one example. All right, I'll just bring this scenario and later on how this scenario will affect the way librarians do embedded librarianship. Okay, but whatever it is, don't worry, because I know that my audience now is from special libraries, and the practices is not it's not much different. Okay, basically, whatever embedded librarianship that you do in an academic library that I am going to share can be practiced in special libraries. Okay. All right. So basically, this is the 4 objectives of the webinar. Yeah, I'm not going to read out this, but I will share later on with the organizer the slides so that everybody can have access to my slides later on. Yeah, so I will maybe put the slides later on. Okay, email to the organizer. So this is the 4 objectives of the webinar, in the hope that later on, okay, whatever I have shared, okay, can be hopefully practice, or if not practice, little by little, we can show how our participants here demonstrate their understanding by posting a question and answer. Yeah, basically during a webinar, during a seminar, we would like participants, okay, to ask questions so that for example, for myself, I can understand whether what I have actually communicate reach out to the participants. Okay, all right. So yeah. The word support, sokong, has always been used in libraries. Perpustakaan menyokong, perkhidmatan and all that, right? But in the context of libraries, okay, in the context of embedded librarianship, it is not just about support. You have to do it together with your client, together with your customer. So, for example, when you provide information services, okay, yeah, to the researcher, all right, you do not just support it, but you have to do it as well. Okay, let's say a researcher asked you, to provide or for advice, okay, on what are the databases that is suitable to search for the recent publications, okay, on let's say food security and fiber system, for example, food security and fiber system, okay, or for example, a researcher comes to you to ask you about the recent research on banana, all right. So how do you do it? Whether you teach them to use the databases, or you provide, okay, search for them, okay, and give them a list of resources, okay, and analyze the resources on banana research, for example, yeah, and give them to the researcher that requests for you. All right. So it is basically whether you just support it or you do it together with them. All right. So in the context of librarianship, you should be able to do the research with them. So you do the research with them, you search for the literature with them, together with them, and you ask the requirement of the researchers. For example, researchers from a lab on agricultural biosecurity, for example. All right. Or even analyze, okay, the various literature, advise them on what is the current one, okay, and analyze which research comes from developing countries, for example, which research comes from American Latin, for example. You know, you will do extra, you will take the extra mile in order for you to get the information for them. Okay, by doing so, the librarian will also learn something new. All right, so that is how an embedded librarian practicing EL. Okay, it is not just like, okay, you can search this and can search it. I'll teach you how to search the Scopus database. I can tell you that, okay, that there is a database for climate change, research on Antarctica, for example. You don't just stop to that. You don't just support, but you also do research with them. Okay, so that is the connotation that in embedded librarianship, librarians do research, librarians teach, librarians do outreach and engagement, for example. Yeah, okay. All right, so that is the change of paradigm. Okay, there are some important books and publications that you might want to further read later on. Okay, that talk about embedded librarianship. But what intrigued me is that the one by McNichol, very early in 2004, this embedded librarianship concept has actually been touched upon. Okay, McNichol takes the view that within the library and information profession, research is largely an untapped resource and advocates that librarians disseminate practitioner research in order to narrow the practice research gap. Okay, so when I look at the literature, most of the literature on embedded librarianship, I talk about literature is research literature. It's not just about literature on blogs or on website or ideas that appears on unpublished work. Okay, so most of the literature on embedded librarianship view the librarians as a researcher as well. Yeah, okay, yeah, and say that or emphasize that librarian should also do practitioner research. Librarian should do research, practitioner research, right? Yeah, so that is what McNichol said. To develop yourself as an embedded librarian, you should also do practitioner research. Not the scientific, okay, the one that the researchers do are scientific research, yeah, okay, scientific research. You can together be with them, or you can also do practitioner research. Because if you do practitioner research, that is something that you can get from the research outcome that you can actually inform the policymakers, your organizations, or other researchers in relation to the practitioner research. Okay, all right. But my view is that the important way of supporting research as a librarian is to engage in the practice oneself. Yes, I support this, and I believe that all librarians, especially librarians in academic libraries in universities, and also librarians in special libraries, should involve in research. Okay, so that is my very, very first message. All right, without involving in research, okay, embedded librarianship will not move you to out from the library, Yeah, okay, all right. So when we talk about embedded librarianship, doing research, these are the areas that later on will be important to you, okay, in terms of servicing or partnering with your researchers, or with researchers from agriculture, for example. All right, it starts from establishing yourself, okay, as a researcher, and start to publish your practitioner-based research. So librarians, if there is not too much for me to expect, perhaps you might want to create an ORCID ID for yourself as well. Okay, yeah, perhaps you might want to create an ORCID ID, an open ORCID ID, just like other researchers. Okay, all right. So with having an ORCID ID and identity, you'll be able to distinguish yourself, okay, as a researcher as well. Okay, so these are the things that you should be able to be very, very familiar of, and I believe many of you here are actually doing these things. Searching the literature, organize the references, manage research data. That is a very important movement, even in Indonesia nowadays, that mandate the researcher, okay, to share research data, isn't it? Right? Okay, the open science movement. Okay, very, very important. You have to be very aware of copyright provision. Okay, people will ask you, why should I share my data? Okay, all right, my data is copyrighted. You must be able to be very well versed, okay, in communicating with your researcher, okay, about a particular issue that relates to the research life cycle. Okay, embedded librarians have been talking about making publication open access. Yeah, Convince your boss, convince your policymaker, okay, about making publications in agriculture, open access, for example, in Indonesia. The citation impact, the societal impact coming from the publications. And also, okay, it is important as well for embedded librarian, all right, who wants to promote themselves, yeah, to be able to be more visible on social media, all right, and choose the right platform, okay, for you to connect to your own community through social media. Okay, so why universities librarians' involvement in research is important? Okay, I said again and again, it is not just about university librarians, it is also something that special librarians cover. Okay, all right. Expertise in information literacy. You librarians in general, they are experts in conducting information literacy instruction. Okay, but beyond that, librarians in Ministry of Agriculture need also to communicate, okay, about agricultural literacy. Okay, so this will involve you to go out, all right, to the community that needs your expertise, needs your input, or perhaps you can bring the researcher together with you to communicate about agricultural or educate about agricultural literacy. Okay, all right. Other reasons are this: facilitator of research discovery, because librarians in special libraries, they have a deep understanding of special databases, special repositories, and also search techniques that is relevant to the researcher in their discipline. So I foresee that, okay, librarians in the Ministry of Agriculture Indonesia will have a deeper, okay, understanding of how the agricultural information infrastructure is like. Okay, the various sections of agriculture, for example, going to the various product, for example, maybe some of you even have expertise in a particular area, for example, in expertise in soil, expertise in banana, for example. All right. So I believe this is something that you know, the embedded librarians who have expertise in a particular discipline can contribute. Okay, the rest are research data management, yeah, open access, you know, all these things, yeah, digital tools, various areas of digital tools. In fact, nowadays, okay, librarians have been, also asked by students, I mean, in my university, on the extent of using ChatGPT, for example, all right, whether ChatGPT is a reliable source, for example, to be used as a search engine. Okay, so librarians should be very, very, up to date in rendering this kind of answers to the community. All right, okay. During Bapak Muhlis' introduction just now, Bapak emphasized on the collaboration. Yeah, collaboration and partnership is a very important involvement, okay, of an embedded librarian. Yeah, okay, all right. To the extent that in some countries, librarians also help out, okay, in securing grant and funding, and also giving personalized support, giving one-to-one consultation or training to the community that itself. Okay, but the focus now that I bring here is the researcher as the client. All right, I saw one. I saw one hands up. Maybe we can take that, Bapak Henry.
Okay. Silakan Mbak Nurul Wahyuni.
Nurul Wahyuni.
Ya. Mungkin operator bisa itu mengon-kan. Mbak Nurul belum.
Okay. Tidak perlu? Mungkin kita boleh teruskan saja.
Ya.
Teruskan.
Silakan Bu. Ya.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, so I have put here, okay, what a researcher thought of embedded librarian. All right, okay. You see here, this is a researcher's thought, and people who use the library will very, very much recognize the library. All right, this is what I noticed. People who don't use the library do not know how the librarians can help them. Okay, they always complain about the library. I'm not sure whether this is true in the context of your university, but people who use the library will always say, oh, I could not have done it without you, especially in the medical. In my university, we talk about the medical library. Law library is very, very highly used, and the law librarian, medical librarian are actually doing embedded librarianship. Okay, so a researcher knows that if the librarians can actually perform beyond what they are able, the day-to-day operation that they do, they will always appreciate that. All right. But these researchers, they do not have the time to go to the library. Yeah, they don't have the time. All right. They do not have the time to connect with the librarian. So what they want to do is that the librarians to reach to them. Yeah, so this actually aligns with what you said just now, your motto, Pustaka, okay? Librarians come to you. So that actually encapsulates, summarize what is embedded librarianship all about, right? Okay, so embedded librarian enter into the picture. So now we have an embedded librarian, all right, that says that, okay, I am going to connect to my client. I'm going to connect to my customer. Okay. So when you connect to your customer, you must also understand the background of your customer. Yeah. Okay. So you must understand also the information that the customer wants. All right. You must understand also, okay, that what is actually the objective and the mission of your customer, so that you can optimize the use of information in you and also the knowledge that you have, okay, to the customer and to also their research team. Yeah, because your customer always come maybe personal, maybe one person, but perhaps that person actually work in a larger group. All right, so you might want to know more about your customer and hopefully connect to them in their own in their own working setting. For example, I'm not sure how many of you here have actually experienced this. You go to the various, maybe labs or maybe departments, okay, to help or to collaborate or to partner with your customer. But I can show you some examples later on. All right. Okay, so this is again, okay, some definitions about embedded librarianship. All right. But what I want to highlight here is that, okay, embedded librarian is an integral part of a whole, an important integral part of a whole, meaning that they recognize you as important. You are important, meaning that if you are important, you should be with them. Yeah, okay, attach together with them, fixed firmly and deeply, dedicated function within a larger system. All right. So that's why I noticed embedded librarianship in some major, universities that highlight a particular emerging research area. Librarian is being now positioned at the faculties or department. Yeah. Okay. For example, in my university, we have a group of researchers in agricultural biodiversity. Okay, so they are collecting, coming our repository on species, for example, species of plants, for example. So, this particular research group, okay, requires an embedded librarian. All right, so the embedded librarian at a particular time of the week will come to the research team, to the office, okay, to actually partner with them to do research. And the focus is more on managing the research data. Okay, so the librarians will help to identify, organize the collection, identify the metadata, for example, how to describe a particular species, for example. All right, okay, a species of plants, for example. Okay, so this is in the context of embedded librarians in research and scholarly communication. Okay, so basically we talk about scholarly communication, komunikasi ilmiah, penyelidikan, penerbitan, bagaimana nak sebar luaskan penerbitan dan sebagainya. Yeah. Okay. All right. So let me show what are the typical instances on academic librarians applying their understanding of scholarly communication first, because we're talking this in the context of research. Okay. Very often, all right, embedded librarian okay, in the context of scholarly communication, they know the journals that are trustworthy and authoritative in specific disciplines. Yeah, they know the importance of mandating self-archiving research data. They know where. Okay, for example, when people ask you, how should I share my research data? Where should I share my research data? Do you have a repository, for example? If you do not have a research data repository, you might want to show, okay, your researchers on how to share the data through reputable databases, for example. For example, Figshare, Zenodo, for example. All right, so librarians must know this. Yeah, they facilitate indexation of national journals in national, regional, global citation databases. For example, I know Indonesia is coming up with a research directory, like research management, research performance platform through Sinta, for example, right? And journals that are incorporated in Sinta, for example, all right? So if, let's say, the Ministry of Agriculture has its own journal in various disciplines, all right? Where are they now being indexed? Do you have, your journals, what is their indexation status? So the librarian should be able to facilitate this, to advise, okay, your publisher, for example, your ministry on where the journal should be indexed, right? Scopus, for example, or even if it does not require to be in Scopus, if the journal is on open access, maybe you need to have the journals listed in the directory of open access journal. Yeah, these are just examples, right? Okay, so embedded librarians in the context of scholarly communication also, they compile the productivity and impact narrative of the researchers. So you have prominent researchers in the area of agriculture. Do you compile their productivity and develop their own impact narrative? All right, so this is how embedded librarians, okay, can actually practice, okay, their understanding, yeah, in relation to scholarly communication. Let us take another example. All right, so embedded librarians will always know the answer to these questions, okay? So if, let's say, people ask you, how do I get access to a pool of journals ranked in agriculture? What is the best journals, okay, in the country on agriculture? Can you answer that? Okay, where should I publish? I have an article here that is related to food security in terms of a particular, algae or seaweed, for example, right? Okay, so what is the best journal that I can publish in? Something like that. Okay, how do I decide where to publish my research? Is my research tier 1 or tier 2? Okay, all right. How should I share my research data? My data is copyrighted, but the funder wants me to share my research data in an open platform. You see, so you should be able to answer this question. All right, to the extent that if, let's say, it is not, I'm not sure whether this is happening or not in Indonesia, but in some countries, okay, the government has been saying no to publishing in MDPI or Hindawi or journals like Frontiers, right? So what is your role in this? How do you convince? I do not know. How do you convince the government, okay, on the quality of the publications in these 3 journals, which are now being regarded as predatory? Okay, so this is where, all right, the embedded librarian, when you work with researcher, okay, when we know where they publish, you will know, actually, we can actually advise them whether it is advisable to publish in a journal, let's say, sustainability by MDPI, for example, because you can actually analyze, okay, some of the on your own, okay, without using any bills list or predatory reports. You do the analysis, okay, for the researcher, all right, and convince that, okay, this journal is fine, this journal is okay, although some other parties have actually indicated that as no good. Okay, I'm just giving you examples. Okay, so these are actually how I capture embedded librarianship. Okay, so what I have on the left is actually the traditional librarianship, but what I have in the right is the embedded one. So moving from our workplace to their workplace. So you have projects with researchers, you have projects with farmers, okay? You have project with maybe the industry people, but you can't do it alone. You have to also connect with the researchers. No way that the industry people will want to communicate or have a librarian in their team, for example, without you having the expertise of the researchers, okay, in various fields. All right. So from serving entire population, you should have embedded librarians that serve small groups. Not everybody can be embedded librarians. They might not have the interest or the passion or even the skills. Okay. All right. So move from only teaching library skills, okay, to impart the knowledge on the actual domain knowledge. So working in a special library will also requires librarians, all right, to have specific domain knowledge. For example, in agriculture. So you need to be a subject specialist as well. And how to do it? You need to engage with the researcher. Okay, moving from out of context to in context. Moving from library-centric to customer-centric. Moving from being generalist to specialist. Not just deliver service, but also analyze and synthesize, like what I said just now. Don't just tell them, okay, this is the database and find out, I teach you how to search, but search for them, cooperate with them, all right? Okay, you can do searching for them, and then you can analyze, do a little bit of bibliometric analysis on the journals that they are publishing, for example. Yeah. Okay, finally, build on service delivery. Move from build on service delivery to build on trusted advice. So they trust you. Your client, your customer, okay, trust you. All right, because you have the expertise. So in a nutshell, when we talk about embedded librarianship, okay, you must have, all right, you must not just go on single transaction, okay? People search, okay, you just respond to a particular reference service questions and all that. You must have ongoing projects with your client, okay? You will not just be responsive. You should be proactive, okay? You should anticipate. These are the kind of project, okay, I know that this group of researchers, they are having a tough time, okay, in coming up with their data management plan. So you come, all right, you anticipate that, you come to the, you can propose, okay, this is going to be the policy or the guidelines on developing a data management plan for agricultural research, for example, yeah? And then instead of having a standardized library service, you can have a customized library service, okay, for your own customer in a particular field, for example, in banana research, in soil research, for example. Okay, move from service to partnership. It's all about partnership. It's all about having collaborators. All right. So when you have an embedded librarianship practice in your library, you don't call them customers as well. You have the general customers, okay, but you also have collaborators. For example, your collaborators will be people from, let's say, from a particular university, a group of researchers working in climate change, a group of researchers in agricultural biosecurity, or even from the industry. You might have also CEO from a particular agriculture industry who can be your collaborator. All right. So having all this will actually benefit the library and make the library more visible and make the embedded librarian having a higher reputation. Okay. All right. So I go on for another 15 minutes here. I have some insights on how embedded librarians can actually contribute to bridge gap between a researcher and the library services. But then again, these are just example for two researchers as your client or as your maybe in future collaborator. So I have captured it in 5 main themes. And basically, this is from my previous research and also the literature. Okay. All right. This is one example. All right. One theme is that you align with the research name. So I give you an example, an embedded librarian. Okay, maybe we can say an embedded. I mean, you can say maybe Puan Listina. Okay, working closely with agricultural science research team in the field of food security. Right. So you assist in locating and assessing specialized databases crucial for their project. Okay. So this is how you show that, or you demonstrate that you are doing EL. Yeah, embedded librarianship. Right. So by the librarians doing this, okay, all right, the researcher will have direct access to your expertise, and also the researcher will save time, and the researcher also must make sure that they are using the most relevant resources. Yeah, okay, all right. Another example, enhanced research outcome. Yeah, okay. All right, embedded librarian in the field, let's say within the scope of agricultural science, an embedded librarian collaborate with faculty, with professors, okay, with students, perhaps PhD students who come to you. I'm not sure whether you have students coming to your library or not. You can design an effective systematic literature review. Okay? I can see nowadays, okay, in various parts of the world, if let's say you are doing, if you are looking at literature, nowadays, the systematic literature review is actually becoming more and more, prominent in the literature. All right, researchers nowadays are looking ways on how to actually, they want to learn how to do systematic literature review. Okay, and librarians have the expertise of doing so. Yeah, so librarians can actually start involving, okay, in coming up with systematic literature review, or also teaching them on how to do literature review, systematic literature review. Yeah. Okay, so by doing so, the librarians will contribute to the development of robust research paper, because you are part of the team. You are collecting the resources for the literature review. The methodology, you suggest the methodology. So you should, in the end, you should also be part of the author for the paper. If let's say they develop a paper on SLR, right, you can also be one of the author. You see, so this can actually increase, somehow make you more prominent, or people see you that you are now an author of a paper, right? So your ORCID ID that you created just now, okay, will have one record of you being an author. Okay, another sample is bringing gaps through workshops. Okay, this is very, very important, especially when you do outreach and engagement. Yeah, for librarians in the Ministry of Agriculture, I believe this is something that you can do with various stakeholders, even the public. Okay, if let's say you want to teach them about agricultural literacy, right? So embedded librarian engage with diverse group of early career researchers. You can also, this is, my example is only for researchers, yeah, the young researchers. You develop, you conduct workshop on Mendeley, yeah. So this is part of it. But so in this aspect, you don't just do it in your library. You go out, okay, to maybe the research management center, make yourself visible, and you teach them on how to use Mendeley, maybe EndNotes, certain citation databases, all right, because they are actually relying on these tools, for example. And nowadays, I can see that librarians are also conducting, workshops on educating researchers on how to use various publication tools. For example, a Scholarly, tools that help them to, editorial tools that help them to make their papers better, for example, like Scholarly, for example, yeah, and also educate them on the various, tools or platforms that might not be trusted, okay, in research or publication, yeah. This is very important, because when you do this, you can actually bridge the gap between the researcher and also the library services. Yeah, so the young researchers nowadays, they are very detached, okay, from the library, yeah, because they are so much in tune with the internet, all right, to the point that they all, nowadays you can actually see the young researchers, they rely on ChatGPT, for example, but we know that the ChatGPT cannot be used as a search engine because it's not reliable. So I do not see nowadays, okay, how the librarians, I've not seen actually specific, specific instances, even in Malaysia, on how the librarians go out, okay, and educate or provide training to the young researchers, or even to the PhD and master students on the ethical way of using ChatGPT. I think librarians can be more proactive in this. Yeah, we cannot wait that long. All right. This is very important nowadays in the context of open science. I believe now Indonesia has also coming up with various platforms on research data management. Those days we used to have institutional repositories. Nowadays, okay, the government has mandated that research institution and even universities to come up with their own research data repositories. All right. So this is an example. For example, in agriculture biosecurity lab, okay, an embedded librarian play a vital role in RDM, research data management. Okay, so the librarians assist in creating data management plan, develop a well-structured data repositories, suggest on how the repositories or a data set in the repository should be organized, implementing data sharing best practices. So these are examples that how the librarians can practice, move, okay, from their library, move out, okay, to meet the researchers outside from the library. Yeah. All right. Another example, one example here, where this is very common, embedded librarian at the medical faculty, or embedded librarian even, okay, at the Ministry of Agriculture Indonesia can curate a customized collection of online journals, databases, clinical guidelines relevant to the team focus. So with doing so, yeah, you will help the researcher, okay, in a particular field access to the most up-to-date information and accelerate the research process. Don't wait until the researcher have to access the Web of Science or Scopus. They might not have that much time. They might not know, because some researchers, especially researchers that are not bound in an academic institution, they do not have that much knowledge on the, you know, the academic or the citation databases. So what you can do is you can come up with a directory, compile, okay, journals, relevant journals, for example, relevant directories, for example, link to the various resources. For example, for Indonesia, you might want to link to them to the various resources from Latin America or South America, for example, because some of these resources protect the locally, the excellence of locally relevant research. Banana research, for example, are being done by people from Latin America, isn't it? Cocoa, for example, coffee are being done in in Africa, for example. So you should be able to take out, okay, the various publications or research report from these two continents, come up, okay, with a directory, because some of these publications, they are not being captured in Web of Science or Scopus. Yeah, they have their own, you know, Latin America, for example, a very rich literature about banana, for example, that banana researchers in Indonesia might want to learn more. Okay, so based on the 5 themes just now, I would like to share what I have done. This is a research that I have done very much earlier when I first discover about embedded librarianship. I think this is somewhere in 2010, 2011, and I have students who did research on embedded librarianship, and this is what I'd like to share. Okay, so basically we want to know how academic librarians in Malaysia understand the concept of embedded librarianship. When embedded librarianship was first introduced, okay, we talk a lot about embedded librarianship, so we want to know what do the librarians know about embedded librarianship. So we did a small study. Okay, it is a qualitative study. Okay, we interview them. All right, and this is what they know. They know that, okay, they are an input. They can serve as an input actually for scholarly communication. They know that they have the knowledge. Okay, they acknowledge that, yes, I have the knowledge, I have the skill in scholarly communication. Scholarly communication here refers to research and publication. Yeah. Okay, so they know that. Yeah, they say that, yes, I know. Okay, so they acknowledge that, yes, I have a role in the process. All right. Okay. So yeah, I do a little bit of research. Yeah, they do. Okay, they know that embedded librarians should have good writing skills. So this is what they said. Yeah, so they feel that embedded librarians should have experience in publishing. They felt that embedded librarians should present papers at conferences. Yeah, so this is what they said. All right. Okay, so they felt that those librarians that are actively publishing and present at conferences, yeah, okay, are worth to be embedded librarians, and also they are expected to manage the university publication. Okay, and also they felt that, all right, being an embedded librarian in research will increase the visibility of their library and their image as a librarian. All right. So when we look at the data, we can see that there are 4 aspects of you know, the role when they do embedded librarianship. They can either promote, okay, They can either be a promoter, they just share information to promote research. Okay, for example, this is a very common thing that librarians do. Let's say there is a highly cited paper, okay, by a group of researchers in your institution, for example. Highly cited paper in the Web of Science, okay, and the author, one of the author is a researcher from university. Is that Bogor University? Okay, maybe from Bogor University or Universitas Indonesia. All right. So the librarians will disseminate the information. Okay, there is a highly cited paper by this particular researcher. Email to the whole community, research community in your institution. So that is a promoter. Another way is librarian as an author, okay, publish. Librarian as an advocate. All right, you advocate, you do a lot of outreach and engagement. For example, if you have a librarian that can talk like this, okay, that can talk about embedded librarian, you are being an advocator. Yeah, so hopefully after this, all right, maybe we want to learn more, want to read more, and we can have, for example, a librarian, all right, who advocate about embedded librarianship. Okay, another one is provider, all right, librarian that provide data for research and publication. But the research was actually confined to only this. There's more to it, all right? Because they only feel that like the conception of embedded librarians are only focused on what they do, okay? Yeah, you promote, you write, you advocate, and then you provide. But there's a lot to being an embedded librarian. It is about building connection. It is about building partnership. It is about building trust. Yeah. Okay, so they also have specific practice. Okay, if you're an embedded librarian, these are the things that you do. Okay, right? You conduct bibliometric studies, you conduct citation analysis. So these are basically what they see an embedded librarian expertise. Yeah, talk about journals, talk about H-index, talk about citations. Okay, advocate open access journal, evaluate journals. So they felt that these are the things that embedded librarian will have to do. All right. Yes, these are the specific practices. And they felt that these are the required competencies. So if you are an embedded librarian, these are the things that you should be able to do. You should be able to do SLR. You should be able to do citation analysis. And this is what I noticed. When we talk about embedded librarian nowadays, in the context of research, what the research organizations, for example, maybe your ministry will value the academic librarians if, let's say, they can conduct bibliometric study or structured literature review, or they are very, well-versed, fasih sangat bercakap tentang bibliometric, scientometric, journal studies, for example, right? Open access, predatory journals. Okay, they can see, oh, okay, this is not a good journal, right? Okay, this one APC is 10,000, maybe 3,000 USD or 2,000 euro. Okay, whether it is worth or not to publish in this journal, they are able to say that, embedded librarian, all right, because they know the stuff. Okay, so here I would like to share you another recent research that my PhD student did, all right, but looking at embedded librarianship in the context of Nigeria, yeah, but still the same, you see? The one that I did in Malaysia, and then this one my student did in Nigeria, but still the same. When we talk about academic librarian potential roles in research partnership, but the focus is on academic librarian in Nigeria, it is still about research. Yeah, the thing about research is very, very prominent. All right. Okay. To the extent that an embedded librarian also help the faculties, the researchers, in securing research grant. All right. So because the university has this way, because research grant, actually information about research grant are also disseminated by the library. Okay. But very commonly in Malaysia, information about research grant is being disseminated by the research management center, that take care of the researcher. Yeah. Okay. So these are the potential role in pre-research, before doing research, while research, and also post-research. And very often in terms of post-research, it is about publishing and disseminating the research, right? Okay. And also in the context of competencies, the finding from this research, okay, highlights that as an embedded librarian, you need to have the knowledge, the skills, and attitudes. So having the knowledge on research methodology is very important. Having knowledge on research data management is important. Yeah. And then the skills is about doing systematic literature review, citation, references is very important, bibliometrics, and also the skills to communicate. All right. and then having the right attitude. In this case, okay, they found out that the attitude is about professionalism, and embedded librarians need to be patient and friendly. Okay? So being an embedded librarian, you need to be professional, you need to be sabar, patient, right? And also you need to be friendly. Okay, so basically this actually research, you might want to read more about this. I have actually indicated the paper there. Yeah, okay, all right. So with such competencies that I have shared and relating to the scenario that I shared very much earlier about scenario where the focus is on research and all that, all right, we can actually see, okay, librarians will spend, okay, some of their days away from the library, right? So the embedded librarians will move, okay, will perhaps have an office at a research center, perhaps will spend 2-3 days, okay, in maybe 2-3 days, not per week lah, maybe 2-3 days per month, for example, okay, connecting with the researchers that they serve. All right. So these are some of the things that they will do. Yeah. Okay. I have listed this down. All right. So yeah, they might have offices with the groups that they're embedded with. Yeah. They spend most of their time in collaboration with the teams whose they work with. It might be too early, okay, in the context of your organization, perhaps you have not seen this, perhaps you have seen this, but this is something that you can encourage, all right, to be done. But what I will always see, the implication of embedded librarianship, if you really want to implement embedded librarianship, identify the right person, you must also have a sabbatical leave for your librarians, okay? Because nowadays librarians, they don't enjoy research leave, right? Dia tak ada cuti penyelidikan, for example. You don't give them sabbatical, yeah? So they might you might want to be given sabbatical or research leave, okay, once in a while, all right, for you to do research. So these are the implications for librarians, okay. So practicing embedded librarianship requires specific skills, and librarians need to, to develop these particular skills, all right. If they do not have these skills, okay, how can their client be more, they cannot be a trusted partner, yeah. Okay, it's difficult because librarians, as how they are being, as how they view themselves or how they are being viewed, they always, I have to apologize to say this, they always say that they are a bit, lower than the community that they serve. All right, especially when they talk about servicing the researchers, because the researchers, most of them, they are with PhDs. Yeah, researchers are with PhDs. So when librarians want to be an embedded librarianship and communicate, okay, with the community that they serve, I always believe that librarians need to be more scholarly. Okay, so do research to the point that perhaps you can gain, have a master's degree or even a PhD degree, right? That so for to be at par, okay, with the community that you serve, especially if you are servicing the researchers. Okay, so yeah, embedded librarianship is a powerful way to show the impact that librarians can do and how they can do it beyond the traditional functions of the library. Yeah, so embedded librarianship also ensure that librarians are now more needed than ever, especially in the context of research organizations. Okay, so never underestimate the impact of a librarian. Yeah, never underestimate the librarian because they know their staff. Yeah, you know your staff, but it's just that perhaps you need to build, more connection, more confidence, okay, with collaborators or with the partners that you can serve in a specific smaller group. Yeah, okay. All right, so I'm sharing the references that I use, okay, for this webinar, and hopefully you can read more, okay, from these references. I have selected these references that mainly talk about embedded librarianship. I would like to inform you that there's not that much research literature that talks about embedded librarianship in the context of developing countries, all right? But rest assured, whether developing or not developing, or, most developed, the practices are similar. It's just that in the context of our country, perhaps, okay, we do not have that worth of resources, or we have a lot of local resources that is worth to be communicated to our researcher. Yeah. And this local research, it is not easy to be published in international journals. So you might want to suggest ways for you to disseminate and protect your locally relevant research in the context of embedded librarianship. All right, so I would like to end this with some priorities of action. So what should you do, okay, for embedded librarianship? All right, so for a particular organization, perhaps, okay, your library might want to practice embedded librarianship. It can be proactive. It can be a significant network. It can also be a regime. You might want to choose the right librarian. If, let's say, everybody is happy to do embedded librarianship, that would be very, very good. Everybody wants to do embedded librarianship. But if there is a need for you to identify specific librarians whom you want to engage more with the customer, then you might want to choose the right librarian. Okay, so you might want to consider suitable embedded practices pertaining to your organization, pertaining to the mission of your organization. So you have a motto that is the library comes to you. So you might want to develop suitable embedded practices that connotates library comes to you. Okay, demonstrate the right competencies for the embedded librarian. Stay abreast of trend. What is the trend now? Okay, so what is the trend now in research? What is the trend now? For example, in research, it is all about research data management. Now it is openness, open science. Okay, stay abreast of the trends. All right, embedded librarian should be more transparent and open. Yeah. Okay, so you might want to develop that paradigm of being transparent and open. Yeah? You cannot be too rigid. All right, and then you need to embrace that you are co-equal partner. Okay, and not just service provider. So you are of the same level with the people who you collaborate, whether they are professors, whether they are senior lecturers, whether are the industry players, so on and so forth. Yeah. Okay, with that, I would like to end my knowledge sharing session. I hope you have benefited from this, and if there are questions, I'm very, very willing to contribute in that. Okay. Any comments, for example? Thank you very much. I pass this to you, Bapak Henry.
Okay, thank you very much, Prof. Abrisah, who delivered the excellent and remarkable presentation. Dan
Yeah, I can see there are some questions here. I'm going through here. Maybe
yes.
You might want to read them. Yeah.
There are Bu Heriati. Maybe you can unmute your mic. Bu Heriati, Bu Teti, raise your hand. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Henry, for giving me opportunity to ask to Prof. Abrijah. Thank you very much, Professor Abrijah, for valuable insight related to embedded librarian. I am Heriati Suyantini. I am a librarian of Innocent Center for Agriculture, Library and Literacy. For the information that we have no longer provide services for researchers, as researchers under the Ministry of Agriculture have migrated to Indonesian Agency for Research and Innovation. So now we have a priority client. We have several priority clients to provide services from Indonesian Center for Agriculture, Library and Literacy, such as extension officer, statistician, lecturer, and so on. So in your contrary of your presentation, that the role of embedded librarian to support researcher. So I would like to ask you, if from your perspective, what competencies should we have to support as embedded librarian to support our priority clients such as lecturer, extension activities, statistician, and so on. Thank you for your insight. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Heriati. May I just know, okay, the specific client that you are serving? The specific
That-
you heard just now, teacher, statistician.
statistician, extension officer, lecturer,
Lecturer.
and we have some functional profession under the Ministry of Agriculture.
Okay. So your clients are
Other than researcher. So
Ah,
what competencies as embedded librarian to support their duty?
okay. All right. Thank you very much, Haryati. Okay, I use the word researcher, yeah, in a general term just now, but when I relate it to researcher, because I come from university, yeah, so when I relate to the researcher, so I relate it to the researcher in my university, and they are actually very academic and scholarly. But when you as a special library serve your client are all in general, they are researcher. They are researcher, but they might not be a scholarly researcher. They might be officers from department, statistics, but they are researcher because researcher is actually someone who do research and they want to know. Researcher basically, they want to know. They want to search for knowledge. Yeah? Okay, so when this researcher, when these people who want to search for knowledge come to your library, all right, they can be in a form of real researcher, academic researcher, scholars. They can be in a form of officers. They can be in the form of teachers. Okay, so you have people from all walks of life coming to your library. Okay, so when we talk about embedded librarianship, if let's say, okay, you have a group of students coming to your library, or you have a group of teachers who are actually teaching mungkin pertanian, ilmu pertanian di sekolah mereka, maybe you can develop a specialized or a customized service for them. I give you one example. Yeah. Okay. All right. I remember when I was much younger, I had children, okay, going to SMR, yeah, okay, and they have to do research. As students, they have to do research. They have to research on the history of a particular area, for example. All right. Okay, so when they do a particular history of a particular area, for example, Shah Alam or Kelang, okay, in Selangor, okay, they go to the library there. They go to not the public library, but they go to a small library in Klang, a small library in Shah Alam. So the librarian there discover that during April to August, there are so many students, okay, coming to their library, all right, to search for information, or even teachers to search for information about the history of the small place. Okay, so the librarian proactively develop special service for them in the form of brochure. So you have the librarian develop a brochure on the history of Kelang, on the history of kampong, this kampong and that kampong, you know, because nobody writes about the history of the kampong, isn't it? Right? So the librarians connect to the ketua-ketua kampong. The librarian connect to ketua-ketua kampong, ask the ketua kampong, okay, what is the history of this kampong and all that? Nobody write about the history of the kampong. You see? So you can see actually the librarian develop a specialized service for the students. Rather than they come and ask the librarian have nothing to show them, or maybe the librarian ask them to, okay, just find this and that, this is what we have. But the librarians proactively go there. Go beyond the four walls of library, go out and do a little bit of research, interview ketua kampung, ketua polis, dan sebagainya, get materials and develop a brochure that they can actually give to the students or the teachers doing research. So this is one aspect, a small initiative of embedded librarianship that happened in a small perpustakaan desa, okay, in Selangor, Kelang. So I hope you can understand this, of how you can actually develop such service for student, maybe for statistician, maybe statistician come to you and look for some statistical data, isn't it? Right? On agriculture. Yeah. So you rather than show them, okay, rather than teach them how to assess it, or give them give them some support on how to assess it, you might want to compile, okay, proactively compile specific statistics about agriculture in your country, maybe. Yep. I hope that can help you to understand better on how you can apply embedded librarianship. What I want to stress here is that you can do it in whatever context that you are doing it now, right? Whether it is a special library or a school, even school library, and it is very, very much practiced in academic library, embedded librarianship, yeah. But it can be for special library. The librarians have to make themselves relevant. They have to go out. That is your motto, isn't it? Right? Librarian comes to you. So how do you go about doing it? Librarians come to you. I hope I answered that. Can give you some insights on how to go about doing it. Thank you.
Yes, excuse me, Professor Abrija, as your previous presentation that as embedded librarian, we have to move from the library skill to the domain knowledge. You said previously from your presentation. So I would like to ask you about what should we do if we collaborate with such as extension officer that you said that we have to closely do the part of their task.
Putus.
I understand the question. I understand it.
Yeah.
Your concern is about your concern is that you have librarianship.
What competencies should we have to collaborate
that's
and
right.
take part of their duties?
Okay. All right. Librarians, okay, they have their own professional knowledge. That is the library science. Yeah? Okay. All right. But some librarians, they have their own domain knowledge, but not all. Okay. For example, before I took library and information science, right, I had a domain knowledge that is at undergraduate degree. I have environmental engineering. Okay, I graduate with environmental engineering. So at the master's level, I have library science. Okay, so I have a domain knowledge. Okay, all right. Some librarians, they don't have a domain knowledge because they graduate with a library science. That's it. And then they do master's library science, maybe. See, so they do not have a domain knowledge. All right. Now, you are very fortunate because you are working in an organization that has a domain knowledge that is agriculture. All right. But to what extent do you know about agriculture? Do you have a bachelor degree in agriculture or diploma in agriculture? No.
Yes, I have a degree
you
of
have.
agriculture.
Yes, so you have the domain knowledge. You have the domain.
Okay, I get it.
Yes, you got it. Yeah, you have the domain knowledge. You see, in an academic library, because everybody, I believe you have a domain knowledge. Even if you do not have a domain knowledge, you can always, you have to start to have a domain knowledge. See, for example, because when you do your own reference service, isn't it? You have your own reference service. You might want to be more diligent to identify what kind of areas that are specifically being asked for in your services. I just bring my experience when I work under the Ministry of Education. Okay, all right. When I was with the Ministry of Education, the library that I work in served the teachers, the students, sometimes, mainly research students, but the teachers also come and also students. Okay, all right. But what my domain knowledge on education is a bit limited at that time. Yeah, okay, it's a bit limited. But I understand. Okay, from what they want, they normally go for research on specific areas. So what I did was, okay, I developed, okay, a database or a directory, okay, that highlight, okay, their particular research. For example, Okay, I have a particular selective dissemination of information. I created the service. For example, every morning, I will identify the headlines of the various newspapers on education, and I give that, I type out, okay, and I give that to the top officers. So rather than they have to read the newspaper that morning, at 7:30 in the morning, I give them the headlines, just a brief description. So that is actually an embedded practice. Although you do it in the library, but the information goes to them. You bring all this and then you bring to the top officers. Okay, this is what I have read for you. Okay, right? And if you want to read more, these are the newspaper cuttings. Those days, that's all many years ago when we don't have when people do not read on the internet, right? But you have that proactive service. Because you know your bosses are very busy, isn't it? Right? They cannot afford to read the newspapers that talks about a particular issue. So you bring the issue to them. Yeah? Puan Haryati? One example.
Okay. Thank you very much for
All right. I hope I have helped clarifying that. Thank you.
Yeah, we can continue with the next question from Bu Puji Astuti. He asked about how to deliver the knowledge that they already collects to daily life, or how to disseminate the information or knowledge that already create in daily life base from Bu Puji Astuti.
Is it on chat?
Yeah.
Puji
Astuti.
Let me find. Puji Astuti.
Ya, in bahasa.
Bagaimana pustaka dapat memberikan disiplin ilmu? Bagaimana ilmu dapat diterima?
Memberikan penjelasan atau ilmunya kepada pemustaka yang membutuhkan bahan pustaka atau penjelasan mungkin dalam bidang pembuatan skripsi atau tesis.
Okay, how do you explain? Yeah.
Yeah.
Pemustaka is librarian, yeah.
Yes.
I think pemustaka is person who the client, isn't it? Pemustaka membutuhkan bahan. Okay, all right. I understand this. Okay, how do you give explanation to the client who wants to, you know, who requires a particular. Okay, all right, this is about writing, okay? All right, yeah? This is about writing. This is writing about publication, journal writing. Okay, isn't it? Where is this is about journal writing. How you can explain about journal writing? Okay, so for this part, when we talk about librarians having competencies, one of the competency that the librarian should have is understanding the process of scholarly publishing. Maksud saya di sini penerbitan ilmiah. Ya, jika pustakawan tidak faham ataupun tidak berpengalaman, okay, untuk menerbitkan sesuatu artikel ilmiah, ataupun pustakawan tidak pernah membuat tesis, maksudnya pustakawan ni tidak pernah berada di, maknanya tidak ada di dalam apa peringkat masters, ya, masters, at least masters level. Terus terang saya katakan agak librarian tak dapat berfungsi secara efektif untuk membantu pelajar dalam menghasilkan artikel ataupun menghasilkan tesis dengan baik. Okay, so I believe this, yeah. So this is why what I see, librarians are considered a professional, although the profession is not a professional profession, okay, but they are considered as professional enough to give input on how to write articles, how to publish, how to write a thesis when they have actually experienced that. Betul tak? Secara idealnya seseorang bila dia nak memberikan sesuatu kepakaran, nak mengajar seseorang, ya, mestilah dia pernah melalui perkara itu. Ya, jadi kalau kita nak maksudnya kalau saya nak memberikan ilmu tentang embedded librarianship, saya perlu mengalami itu. Saya buat kajian dulu. Saya tak boleh cerita saja dengan hanya membaca. Saya tak boleh cerita tentang embedded librarianship just relying on papers that have published on embedded librarianship. This is not trustworthy. Okay? So seseorang itu adalah pakar, boleh mengajar apabila dia telah melaluinya. Begitu juga dengan pustakawan. Jika hendak mengajar bagaimana cara menulis, macam mana cara menggunakan Mendeley, macam mana cara menggunakan EndNote, macam mana cara menggunakan Web of Science, tentulah kita telah mengalaminya terlebih dahulu. Okay? Jadi saya nak terangkan di sini, jika kita nak secara efektif mengajar bagaimana cara untuk menerbit jurnal, memilih jurnal, menulis tesis, kita perlulah melalui pengalaman itu. Mungkin tidak bersetuju, tapi itulah pandangan saya. Ya, jadi secara efektifnya, if you want to actually educate or teach on how to choose a right journal, you must know, you must have experience with the journal. Alright, sebab itu pustakawan yang hanya boleh menceritakan tentang pemilihan jurnal dan sebagainya, mereka itu adalah berfungsi sebagai librarians yang efektif untuk mengajar literasi maklumat. Yeah. I hope I have answered that. Yeah, Pujastuti ya, Catur Pujastuti.
Bagaimana Bu Pujastuti, ada pertanyaan atau sudah merasa cukup apa yang direspon oleh Prof. Abrizal?
Saya beri bayangan saja sebab saya tak boleh kata macam mana cara nak mengajar. Untuk mengajar kita harus melaluinya. Betul tak Pak Heman? Pak Hendra. Okay, so the next question is from Nur Hayati. Embedded librarianship. Is there a significant difference between embedded librarianship and teaching librarian? Okay, all right. Yeah. Is there a difference between embedded librarians and also a teaching librarians? Yes. Okay. All right. Embedded librarians, if you look at the connotation just now, it's about collaboration, building partnership and all that. But when you teach, do you do that? When you teach information literacy, if you do collaborate and partner and move out from the library to connect and provide a specialized service, very customized, and to a small group, then you can call yourself as an embedded librarian. Yeah? Okay. Very often, a teaching librarian in information literacy, you teach it in the library, isn't it? Right? Okay, you teach a larger group of students. You use the same modules for all information literacy modules. But if you are developing, customize it. Let's say you have an information literacy module for agriculture, untuk pekebun, untuk petani. Yeah, and then you teach, all right, information literacy di pustaka desa umpamanya. You go out to all the perpustakaan desa and teach and educate the petani about the food system, the fiber system, for example. Yes, you have a customized, a specific information literacy instruction tailored to a specific group. Yes, you are doing embedded librarianship. Yes. Okay. You teach information literacy. You are not a teaching librarian. You are not just a teaching librarian. All right. How can a librarian to be trusted to involve in research where in the university usually research is more related to a lecturer? Okay. All right. Yes, you can be because you have the skills. As a librarian, you have specific skills, okay, in relation to information. All right. So they will trust you in that manner. If you are able, okay, when you involve in research, would you be able to tell your researcher, okay, that, okay, let me do the literature review for you. All right, give me 3 days and let me come up with a list of journal articles in this particular research area. Okay, let me come up with a list of journal articles on banana, on banana research, okay, or specific banana, for example. All right, on a particular vaccine, for example. You tell the researcher, okay, you tell the lecturer, all right, the lecturer is doing research on vaccine, yeah, on COVID-19. So you tell the lecturer, okay, let me search PubMed for you. PubMed, the database, Medline, let me do it, Medline for you. And I can get all the recent literature on COVID-19. Okay, I will categorize them based on countries, perhaps. I will categorize the research on COVID-19 based on patients. Maybe for elderly macam mana, untuk ibu mengandung macam mana, untuk kanak-kanak macam mana. Can you do it as a librarian? You can do it, isn't it? Right? So you are a trusted librarian based on your expertise on information. So this is where they can value you. Oh, masa saya ada masa saya jimat masa lah. Dalam masa seminggu, saya tak perlu lagi search the database, PubMed and all that. Because I have an embedded librarian doing it for me. Yeah. Okay. Even the researcher might not know about the various databases. Okay, they might not know that the journal, Lancet, for example, JAMA, for example, New England Journal of Medicine, for example, they might not be using that kind of resources, you know. So that is why we are very, very concerned nowadays, researchers. When they do research, they just take whatever publications that are available on the net. They just search the Google and they identify the various papers that are all available on the internet. They don't dare to check whether the journal is a good journal or not, whether the journal, you know, that is the problem nowadays. Okay, when we have researchers who cite the researcher that are not trustworthy, that is not of quality perhaps, that they just look by Google. We do not want that to happen. All right. So there are cases when articles are being rejected because the researchers are not citing the right article. The article is about something else, but the researcher, okay, wrote about it in another particular manner. So in a hope that the librarian to be trusted, to be involved in research, so you have to develop that kind of competencies. But the competencies must be related to your profession as a librarian lah. In relation to information. Kalau tak adalah librarian yang boleh buat kajian dalam COVID-19 dan sebagainya kan, bukan kepakaran kita. Tapi kepakaran kita adalah di dalam mengenal pasti maklumat yang sahih untuk digunakan. Macam mana nak cari dengan cepat. Alright, we can extract that, we can download that, we can categorize that, okay, based on our knowledge about information organization. So I hope that I explained Nur Hayati's concern or question just now.
Bagaimana Bu Nur Hayati? Maybe we have one more question before we have time to 11:30. We schedule to have close this webinar in 10:30. Yeah.
11:30 at my time, yeah? Okay.
Yeah. One more question from Pak Agus Firmansyah.
Yeah.
What the application you saying about embedded library and millennium generation? Yeah, you can read.
Okay.
The screen, yeah.
No. The screen is, okay. What's the application using about? What is the application using about embedded library? How to apply embedded librarianship in millennium generation? Oh, okay. To the young ones now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So when we talk about millennium generation, these are the Z generation lah, millennials. So millennials, nowadays millennials, they are everywhere. They are in schools, they are in colleges, and some of them, they are still in universities. Okay, so the millennials. All right. So as a librarian, you don't serve any Tom, Dick, and Harry. Bukan semua you serve. Sebab bila kita jadi when you're a librarian, you are serving it to a particular stakeholder. Okay, so all these millennials, they are everywhere. You cannot serve them on the net. All right. So if you are serving them on the net, you have to act as a librarian. When they come to your library through the internet, your digital library, when they connect to you online, when they connect to you through your social media, to your Pustaka social media, then, okay, you can connect with them. All right. So Otherwise, you will be connecting to them through their own organization lah, as a student, as a college student, as a university student, and some of them, the millennials, they are in university, they are in their own teaching, they are in their own working organizations. Okay, so if you are serving them as part of your customer, that should not be an issue. Okay, create specific services that are in relation to what they want. But if you're asking me about serving the millennium in general, okay, as part of your task as an embedded librarian, this is something that you can do through your social media. Through your social media. So librarians can have their own institution social media, but you have also your own social media, isn't it? But if your social media, if let's say your Facebook, how do you portray yourself on Facebook? Do you portray yourself, okay, as a normal individual, or do you portray yourself as a librarian? Okay, I'm asking you. You have a Facebook? Do you say that librarian page, or maybe Listina the librarian? Do you say that? Listina the librarian. So if you put Listina the librarian, you build your own trusted platform as a librarian. So that is where you can engage as embedded. Yeah. So you have to be professional in this. You cannot just serve anybody. You know, the millennials, right? Millennials, they have very, very specific. But if let's say, okay, you have Listina the librarian, Listina pustakawan yang baik hati, pustakawan yang, you know, budiman, something like that. All right. So you are creating your presence on Facebook.
On branding.
Yes, a branding. So that is where you can be embedded. But you are being embedded in a virtual world. You don't go to their school, you don't go to their institution, you don't go physically to their space. You are in a virtual world where you do embedded services. But you have to be very careful, okay, because for us as librarians, we don't have, although we have some professional practices and all that, all right, but we are not a professional like lawyer or accountant, you see. So you just have to be very careful if the advisors that you are giving them might implicate to you again. Yeah, because you are actually because you're putting yourself as a librarian, your social media as a librarian. So they ask you questions, okay. So for example, they ask you questions, perhaps you might want to draw a line. To what extent are you going to serve them with the answer? Contohnya macam katakanlah, tak apa ya, Listina, saya gunakan Listina sebagai contoh. Listina pustakawan ilmiah, ya, pustakawan ilmiah, ya, pakar mungkin, alright, pustakawan ilmiah. And then you have a millennial, okay, asking you about okay. You ask a millennial asking millennial, but millennial in context. Millennial asking you about this has to be with pustakawan, and then your connection in agriculture. You know, yeah, okay. And this librarian, this millennial asked you on whether on how you can actually provide embedded services to maybe to a group of apa kita panggil ya, this one is juvenile delinquents, anak-anak yang di dalam rumah tahanan, penjara, ya. But these are teenagers that are confined to juvenile delinquents, okay, macam pusat tahanan kanak-kanak, ataupun maybe the millennial would like you to provide information literacy course, okay, or teach information literacy, okay, to a group of children whose parents are petani, okay. So that kind of embedded you can do, right? Because it is still connected to you, because you're working an institution is a library that is confined within the Ministry of Education and Agriculture. So if let's say they asked you, okay, Wan Listina, you always help us with all this and that, but can you teach us on how to, can you teach us on how to, we are all children of this particular kampung, okay, our parents are petani and all that, all right? So can you teach us on how to actually develop digital literacy, okay, or how to actually help us to motivate us to read, to do reading, reading or create activities, all right, to inculcate reading habits, for example, then you can do. But if let's say you are being approached to talk about information literacy for a group of juvenile, okay, juvenile delinquents, kanak-kanak nakal dan sebagainya, you cannot do, okay. So you have to be very careful on clearly identify who you are, where do you come from, and provide the embedded services. All right. Do not your library you come to people, your library comes to people, but that is within the context of your organization, okay, that deals with areas on agriculture. Okay, don't my advice is do not move, all right, beyond the wall of your area or your institution. Yes.
Oke, thank you Prof. Abrisa. Sebelumnya saya mau tanya ke Bu Listina ini. Ini sudah lewat jamnya Bu Listina. Kira-kira mau dilanjut apa?
Masih ada pertanyaan sedikit, mungkin bisa di Pak Edwin, ya. Pertanyaan yang ini. Mungkin bisa nanti dijawab dengan lebih singkat. Oke, ini soalnya sudah bertanya, kalau nanti tidak dijawab nanti termimpi-mimpi ya Bu. Penasaran gitu ya. Maka silahkan, mumpung ada profesor nih.
Okay, so this is from Teguh, yeah. How embedded librarians maintain their skills and knowledge to stay relevant and up to date. Okay, all right. Yes, as a librarian, we always have to update ourselves. And how to? You have to learn, yeah. And learning nowadays, okay, is not just by going to courses, isn't it? Right? Learning now, you can always learn from your community of practice. Okay, so I believe in the context of librarians in Indonesia, you might have a group or a community of practice that you can learn from one another to stay relevant. Yeah, okay. For Malaysia, for example, in Malaysia, we have a group, a social media group of practice, or even we have a WhatsApp group, yeah, a Telegram group that help librarians to become relevant. Because librarians cannot afford to actually go to pursue a master's or PhD or even do research or even, go to workshops and training, all right? But one way of staying relevant is actually to attend webinars and all that. It is very easy nowadays, yeah? But my suggestion is that, okay, for you to upgrade your skills, you need to learn, you need to go for micro credentials or maybe certification, but to stay relevant also is very important. So you can do this, okay, by discussions with your community of practice in social media, develop a very good trusted social media platform for your community of practice. Even among, we have about 192, oh my goodness, 192 participants nowadays. I mean, for this group, all right? So I believe these are all within the Ministry of Agriculture, right? Yeah, the various agriculture library, okay, in Jawa Barat, for example. So you can learn from one another. Connected to international group as well. There are actually various social media group, and you can follow Twitters of people who talk about embedded librarianship and specific areas, okay, in your discipline. So that is just an advice. I cannot tell you the real how to. Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you.
Maybe one more from
One more.
Vivit. Yeah. how do you think librarians on the special library like Pustaka could become further embedded in the stakeholder, especially versus institution policy? It's about the synchronization, about the policy and what they should do as librarian. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Mhm.
Librarians, I'm not sure how your policy is.
Yeah.
Okay. Whether you do encourage, okay, your librarians, whether you do permit your librarians to go out, okay, and do their service. But I believe there is no such policy that does not encourage this. There's no policy that say, okay, you must work 24, 5 days a week, 8 hours per day, okay. Stay put in your library. I don't think your institution has this policy, but I do believe your institution, having said that library comes to you, okay, will encourage embedded librarianship, because that is in your motto, that is in your strategic plan. You want to connect to your client, you want to connect to everybody that you serve. So there is no problem about the policy. The problem now is that you as librarians, okay, start being proactive to develop embedded services. Start with 1 or 2. For example, Bapak Henry, yeah? All right. So if let's say you are servicing a particular group of statisticians, for example, all right, maybe you can develop a special service for them. Okay. So in a hope that, all right, later on, they can all collaborate instead of having statistics from this region, statistic from this town, statistic from this kampung on, let's say, contohlah sebagai contoh, macam mana pengeluaran, apa ya di Indonesia, saya suka cerita pasal banana saja, macam mana pengeluaran pisang contohnya, okay? Ataupun spesies pisang yang dikeluarkan di satu kampung atau satu kawasan dan sebagainya. So you have all those statistics, okay? Who actually grow them, all right? Who actually grow them, bagaimana pengeluarannya, di mana dijual. I'm not sure, okay? Maybe this is just an example. So you have various data from various places. So this is where, okay, the various library from various region, all right, that takes care of agriculture information can connect. So in the end, you have a big database, a big data set about pengeluaran pisang di Indonesia. Contoh lah, contoh. This is just a contoh. Okay, so this is one way of how you can develop the embedded services specifically tailored to statistician. And this statistic can be used by researchers as well. All right, in case the statisticians come to you to do this, but let's say, okay, you have a special service for statisticians come to you to ask you about, or to inquire about doing analysis and all that, you see. So what you can do is also to have, all right, like an adjunct to your library, like a fellow. You have also fellow with your library, you see. So you can have somebody important from Department of Statistics to also, give some input to your library, meaning that your adjunct fellow can also contribute to your library by giving the services and hopefully collaborate with you to further enhance your skills and expertise. So it is just about collaboration and partnership, and there are so many things that you can think of by talking to your client. Ask your client what you actually, how can we further help you? Okay, start with that kind. Okay, we would like to know further. I would like to know further about this. Can I help you this and that? Try to suggest ways of how to collaborate. Don't just sit in the library and just say, okay, you want this and that. Okay, I'll show you this and that. All right, don't just stop there. Yeah. Okay, so that's my advice. All right. There's no hard and fast rule on how to provide these services. It's just basically of creative. You have to be creative. You have to be innovative. You have to be, have that passion, commitment, communication, which I believe most of us librarians do have that. Okay, thank you.
Okay, I think that's all question about this webinar. And before closing this webinar, I want to have some highlights. The first thing is go out with your stakeholder. Do not stay at your library.
Yes.
The second one is increase your collaboration and partnership. widely your collaboration and partnership with other stakeholder. And the third is do not provide information about a certain database and strategy how to search by him, her or himself, but provide information what they want. So we can become embedded library. I think that's all for today's webinar. Thank you for Prof. Abrisah for your willingness to provide your valuable time for us to share your experience, your knowledge, your insight about the embedded library. Thank you very much, Prof. Abrisah.
Thank you. Alhamdulillah. Terima kasih.
Ya.
Saya ucapkan yes. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Baik, terima
Oke.
kasih Bapak Ibu sekalian. Demikian webinar hari ini. Terima kasih atas partisipasi dan partisipasi Anda untuk mengikuti acara webinar ini, dan saya kembalikan ke Bu Listina.
Baik, terima kasih kepada Prof. Abrizah yang telah memberikan insight yang luar biasa bagi kita pustakawan di Indonesia nih Bu. Terima kasih sekali Bu Abrizah sudah berkenan ya. Dan terima kasih juga kepada Pak Henry yang telah memoderatori pada sesi ini. Banyak ya PR-nya ya ternyata ya pustakawan nih untuk menjadi embedded librarian gitu. Baik, sebelum memasuki acara akhir, mungkin Bapak Kapus masih bersama kita ya. Mohon berkenan Pak Kapus untuk memberikan closing statement-nya. Dipersilakan Pak Kapus.
Ya. Terima kasih seluruh partisipan dan terutama narasumber kita, Prof. Abrisah telah bersama dengan kita. Moga-moga ilmu yang di-share pada kesempatan kali ini bermanfaat bagi seluruh teman-teman dan semakin menambah wawasan ya untuk memudahkan ke depan dalam melaksanakan tugas dan fungsinya di perpustakaan masing-masing yang tersebar di seluruh unit kerja dan unit pelaksana teknis di Kementerian Pertanian. Dan kita berharap dengan seperti ini, maka upaya untuk meliterasi seluruh warga, seluruh stakeholders kita akan semakin baik karena ditopang dengan pemahaman dan penerapan embedded librarians. Kira demikian, dan terima kasih sekali lagi. Moga-moga Allah paring untuk selalu memberikan barokah kepada kita sekalian. Terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih Pak Kapus. Sudah berkenan menemani kita nih dari pagi sampai siang hari ini. Terima kasih Pak Kapus. Ya, baik Bapak Ibu peserta knowledge sharing kepustakawanan. Selesailah sudah acara kita dari pagi hingga menjelang siang hari ini. Terima kasih atas partisipasi aktif dari Bapak dan Ibu semuanya. Sebelum kita akhiri acara ini, mari kita berfoto bersama ya. Boleh di on cam, minta tolong untuk dibantu berfoto, Mas Zudi.
Baik,
Bisa?
baik Bapak Ibu.
Oke. Silakan yang bisa untuk on cam. Ya, kita ada 7 slide ya. Oke. Dipandu Pak Zudi ya, silakan.
Cek.
Oke, sip.
Di layar saya ada
Salam literasi.
7 slide. Slide pertama. Kemudian slide 2.
Ya, slide kedua.
Slide 3. Slide keempat. Slide kelima.
Yang sudah ada sudah tidak ada gambarnya?
6.
Iya. Masih, ya.
Dan slide terakhir.
Oke, baik Bapak Ibu.
Terima kasih Bapak Ibu.
Ya, baik. Untuk link absensi dan link sertifikat sudah di-share di kolom komentar. Silahkan Bapak Ibu bisa mengisi absensi terlebih dahulu untuk nanti bisa mengunduh sertifikat secara mandiri. Sekali lagi kami sampaikan terima kasih. Mohon maaf jika dalam penyelenggaraan acara hari ini kurang berkenan, mohon dimaafkan. Semoga acara ini dapat menambah ilmu dan pengetahuan kita semua dan menambah semangat bagi kita para pustakawan dan pengelola perpustakaan di masing-masing perpustakaan yang Bapak Ibu kelola. Sampai ketemu kembali di acara knowledge sharing kepustakawanan selanjutnya. Wabillahi taufik wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam literasi. Oh iya, Bapak Ibu untuk acara ini nanti barangkali ingin melihat kembali ya apa yang sudah disampaikan oleh Prof. Abriza nanti akan kita upload di YouTube Pustaka Kementerian Pertanian. Bapak Ibu bisa berkunjung di YouTube kami. Di sana juga ada webinar-webinar yang sudah dilakukan, barangkali ada materi-materi yang menarik, bisa Bapak Ibu kunjungi. Baik, itu saja yang bisa saya sampaikan.
Jika berkunjung ke Bogor, jangan lupa mampir ke Perpustakaan dan Pengetahuan Pertanian Digital atau P3D. Terletak di Jalan Ahmad Yani nomor 70, Kota Bogor. Bangunan kekinian yang berada di pusat Kota Bogor ini merupakan salah satu unit layanan Pusat Perpustakaan dan Penyebaran Teknologi Pertanian atau Pustaka Kementerian Pertanian. Perpustakaan dan Pengetahuan Digital atau P3D hadir sebagai learning center untuk memenuhi kebutuhan informasi, pendidikan, penelitian yang dilengkapi ruang layanan, sekaligus co-working space kekinian yang nyaman bagi generasi milenial. Layanan yang diberikan berbasis digital sebagai sarana edukasi dan terintegrasi dengan perpustakaan internasional. Perpustakaan dan Pengetahuan Pertanian Digital atau P3D menjadi jendela membuka cakrawala dan mendukung percepatan informasi pertanian menuju pertanian maju, mandiri, dan modern. Pustaka Library comes to you.
Time Music.
Niku Putra Production. Free Time Music.